G'day, bird nerds. Oh, let's see if we got that done well today. Uh, oh my God, what's happening here? What is happening here? That's not good. Undo. There we are. That's better. And I can go here, and I can delete that. And I think we're right on all of the platforms. Let's see. I cannot tell if we're live on Instagram, folks. Oh no. Oh no. All right, I'm going to explain what's going on and what's been upsetting. Here we are. We should be right now. What's been upsetting me recently? There we are. Oh, looks like I'm back. Hello, folks. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Twitch. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. Habitat Gardening. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a plant nerd. Today, I wanted to talk about something, and it's come just to me this morning after watching a lot of the news and seeing the warnings that we're in for some severe weather on the eastern side of Australia, which will affect me where I am in Melbourne. And I really do hope that it's not going to affect you wherever you are. And that is extreme weather. And it's something that we're going to encounter far more, I think, in the coming years. And let me just say, I am going to talk about cut flowers as well in the uh, second part of the stream. Now, let me just see. I just want to see if we're up on Instagram. I cannot tell. Let's see. Oh, hang on. I'll go here. No, I've got no idea. So we'll just drop off Instagram. Um, let me just say, if you're on Instagram and you're watching and you are enjoying the streams, I'm going to try and streamline all of this. I'll tell you what's happening. I've been using the same streaming software. Oh, hello, Naomi. Thank you for the Facebook love. Happy Saturday morning. Let me know if you're going bird watching or if you're going to do gardening today. Okay. Of course, you're all here about me, but I'll tell you why things have been so clunky in recently with the streaming. I have been using the same streaming software for years and years, and they were basically a startup when I started using them. But in that time, they've been sold twice, both times to multi-billion-dollar companies. And now what they're doing, of course, is basically doubling the cost to use them, but at the same time reducing the amount of features that you get at the basic levels. And I was spending about $50 a month on this, but now they want me to spend about $100 a month for tiny little extras. But also the increase takes away some of the options that I had previously. So I'm trying now to do everything through OBS, but it doesn't have some of the functionality like showing comments easily, because so much of the functionality that I enjoy here, or that I have enjoyed over previous years, is only available to Windows users, not to Mac users. So I'm having to learn a whole lot of new plugins to try and deliver the same functionality that I had before. So therefore, this morning was a bit clunky because some of the things had changed, and I'm doing vertical as well as horizontal. Most of you will be watching and enjoying on horizontal. Anyway, that's it. So do forgive me, and if you are on the horizontal formats on YouTube or Instagram, I'm sorry. I really will try to improve the experience over the next little while. So let me know, are you worried about extreme weather events when selecting plants for your garden? And I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Habitat gardening. And what got me thinking about this was the news coverage of some of the extreme, you know, well, the severe wind that has been buffeting parts of eastern Australia has seen trees falling, and they're falling on cars and they're falling on houses in some instances. But from what I could tell, usually the trees that are falling have been eucalypts, gum trees, from what I can usually identify. But this time I've been seeing wattle trees coming down. And what I was just wondering is, when you are thinking about change in your garden and you're here because you're interested in providing a place for wildlife to live, are you considering in your plant choice what might happen with an extreme weather event? Just let me know that in the comments, and maybe we can take the discussion forward from there. And remember, I'm only here on a Saturday morning to have a discussion and to talk about some of these issues and help with plant selection. So let's quickly see if anyone wants to join in on this. Does the prospect of extreme weather events, storms, be it wind or excessive rain, and the prospect of the plants that you put in your garden having some unforeseen impact on your life, be it damaging property or even injuring people? And if so, what have those choices led you to? Has the idea of making changes to your garden just stopped? Have you put those aside because you're worried about the prospect of perhaps a tree blowing over, or in the future something that you plant today becoming a concern in the future? Or are you even making choices like thinking about growing bamboo instead of growing large shrubs or trees? Let me know. I'm really interested in this, and whether it is a concern down the road. And perhaps if we want to widen the discussion even further, are you considering plants that may be a problem with introducing or furthering the transmission of some diseases? And myrtle rust is the one I'm really thinking about, which affects plants in the Myrtaceae family, of which eucalypts, angophoras, melaleucas, these are all callistemons. These are all plants in the Myrtaceae family that can be affected by myrtle rust. And there's no real control other than eradicating the plants. So this is what got me thinking and wondering whether you are moving your thoughts towards, maybe instead of the plants that you see falling down, the trees that you see coming down, which are generally able to be identified by a casual observer in the news footage as gum trees or eucalypts. Are you moving towards perhaps wattles, acacias, maybe banksias or other plants in the Proteaceae family, which might bring other issues? So let's see how much people are interested in today, and we'll see if anyone wants to talk about that. Or do you want me to just get straight into talking about plants that you can use as cut flowers from taking the flowers from your garden into your home, and that are a good choice as a cut flower, that might last longer than an afternoon in a vase in your home. I've got a couple of, I've got maybe five or 10 that I really highly recommend. Okay? This is where I'm at your service, folks. I'm here to answer questions and see if any of you have anything you want to bring up. Let me see. Oh, good morning, Twitch. Nice to see you here this morning too. And Facebook. So, would anyone like to lob a question or a comment? Tell me if you're gardening or bird watching today. I have a bird story from this week. Let's see. Yes. Naomi. Okay, Naomi seems to not be able to chat on YouTube. Okay, that's an issue. These are the things. Thank you, Naomi, for telling me that. I will. I have to do a lot of testing to get this move over to the new way complete. Naomi says she is definitely going to plant the bigger trees further from the house. I'll plant smaller shrubs near the house. Lots of eucalypts fallen here, and a massive limb came off my angophora in the winds. It's not damaged the house, and it's an awesome perch for the birds. Yeah, well, Naomi, that's a really useful comment, because it's going to continue to happen, and I think I'm just saying. Now, Stan, I'm seeing you. Here we go. I've just come over and having a look at YouTube. Stan, I can see you there, and Jambone Jim. Hello, this is great. Jambone Jim on Vancouver Island in Canada. So great to see. Okay, so that means I'm juggling 3 chats. So bear with me, and we'll see if we can get now, Jambone Jim, you've got a question here. Any thoughts on how long that fungus is going to be present in the soil, and are there shade trees I could put there? Okay. I'm not going to profess to be an expert about what the issues are in Canada, but I can tell you that the myrtle rust is generally leaf-borne. It expresses itself as a problem on the leaves. But as I understand it, it's present present for as long as there is tissue for it to live on and reproduce and spread. Myrtle rust has been a massive problem in Europe. I'm not sure about its problems in Canada. Certainly present in the US. Now, what have we got here? This is a good question, Jambone Jim. I'm a day behind. It's Friday in Vancouver Island across the pond. Having a large London plane tree taken down in front of our house next week. It has a fungus anthracnose. Sorry, I thought you were talking about myrtle rust. Okay. It depends what the vector is that is spreading the disease to your plane tree. Now, we had lots of elm trees in Melbourne removed and pruned to within an inch of their lives because we had Dutch elm disease, and that was being spread by a beetle. I don't think we've had similar issues with the plane trees in the streetscapes of Melbourne, and Melbourne and surrounding cities or surrounding municipal councils have the London plane tree, a particular variety, as the major street tree. And I think we are preferring it here because it is not having those problems. Now, let me just quickly okay. Plain anthracnose, a fungal disease affecting the leaves, twigs and branches of some species of plane trees. It varies in severity. Okay. So it's it's a powdery mildew. Okay. So it's a fungal disease that affects the trees. I'll just see. I've got a good Australian uh, quick treatment can often be all that is required to save your tree from devastation and disfigurement. Treatment options. Okay, and so I'll just read from this and then see if you can follow up. And bear in mind, at the moment, I can't see your comments. Cankers and advanced lesions girdle and distort stem growth. Okay, I have seen this actually. Cankers are overwintering repositories for the mycelium and the perithecia that produce spores and new infections during the following spring. If left untreated, leaf scorching and destruction of buds will occur. Previous year's growth will be destroyed, as well as twig and stem growth for the entire season. So the treatment options are as follows. Canopy spraying. Now, I've seen this occurring in Melbourne, but I've seen this, I think, mainly on elms. Annual treatment, usually undertaking at partial or full leaf expansion. So right at bud burst. So now you've got to behave like you're managing an orchard. Just before bud burst, you've got to spray with the right fungicide, and this only works for one season. You can inject systemic fungicides directly into the xylem. So that's the first layer under the bark. No, phloem isn't it? So it's the third layer under the bark. You've got the bark, and then you've got phloem and xylem. I think that's right. Anyway, the xylem is the transport system in the plant that takes water upwards. So you can inject a systemic fungicide into the xylem, which transports the chemistry within. Environmentally safe, persistent, and effective for 2 more years. Now, I would assume that you're going to need a specialist arborist, arboriculturalist to do that. The benefit is that if you did the canopy spraying at the right time, and then a little later, as maybe as the leaves were fully mature, and before the fall in autumn, and you did the xylem injection at that time, you would get another 2 years into your prophylactic treatment. Now, bark, but they would both require someone with specialist equipment, I would say, if you have a large tree. Bark stem application, available all year round. Systemic fungicides are applied directly to the trunk, which absorbs and translocates the chemistry, the active ingredient. Environmentally safe, well, as environmentally safe as a persistent or a systemic fungicide can be. Effective for 2 years. Okay. And then there's powdery mildew, fungal disease that affects young leaves and shoots, a powdery white mat of mycelium and spores, causing them to become desiccated and die. I'm just seeing if there's... okay, there is a PDF here. Well, the American sycamore is the oriental plane tree is highly resistant. So you may want to look for that. I will put a link. Can I put that in here now? Copy. Hey, Jambo and Jim, let's see. You've been telling me a little bit more. I'm just reading all your comments now. Had the specialists in. 3, in fact, they all came with much the same cannabis treatment idea, which we did 3 years running, but we've not tried the injection thing. Okay, I've put in the chat there for you, Jim, a link to that PDF, which is from a Melbourne group, but I think the treatment options are going to be the same. You would have to find an arborist who has the equipment in there. Okay, so it looks like Stan can't chat in the StreamYard either. So this is one of the problems why I need to move everything out of StreamYard, because Facebook can chat in one window, and I've got Stan and Jim in the YouTube window. And let me see, what have we got on the Instagram window? I don't even think I've got an Instagram up anymore, do I? No, so I don't know what's going on in Instagram. I'm sorry about that, Instagram folk. Let me see if I can find that again. I've got messages on Instagram, but none of them are here. Okay. Just checking. Okay, let me come back. Let me come back to you. Okay, let's go back to YouTube. Okay, so Jambo and Jim on YouTube says, anyway, the plane tree is coming out, okay, because you're having bud burst now, and we're tired of having to clean up after it every day. Shame it's such a nice tree that we planted as a twig, basically. Jim, the first thing I would suggest, if you do like the plane tree, I would be looking to see if any nurseries have the Plantanus orientalis Where are we? We go back to. Just looking for that again. It was Plantanus orientalis, wasn't it? That they recommended. Uh, did I see that? Oh, of course I can't see it now, can I? Here we go. Yeah, the oriental plane tree, Plantanus orientalis, is highly resistant. So, if you sounds like you're into propagation yourself, Jim, I would see if you have any local nurseries with that as an option. Yes. So, okay, cool. Let's got that. Stan, let's go back to what you were saying. Now this is interesting. Stan and Jim are in the vertical feed for YouTube. Good on you, Jim. Nice to see you. I hope you can pop in again. Stan and Jim, can you just confirm maybe with a thumbs up or something that you're in the vertical feed? Looks like I have to monitor about 5 different chats. And Stan says he's heading north next week. Looks like I left it a little late as summer has already started up there. Yeah, apparently it's going to be extremely hot in northern northern parts of Australia. Okay, now I'm getting into. All right, so I've got no chats in the horizontal. Oh, this is driving me mad. Don't know why that is. All right. Let's come back to here. Okay. I'm trying my best, folks, with all these. You can see why I've been very frustrated and why I haven't been. But Jim, let me know. Are you in the narrow? Are you in the narrow? So yeah, stands in the vertical. If you're in the vertical, I'll tell you how you can tell if you know. At the bottom, it says follow live with an Instagram thing for the bird emergency down the bottom. So if just let me know if you're there because I had a look on the having a look on the having a look on the other one and no one's in there. Oh, now it looks like I've frozen. Is that right? No, we're all right there, but we're frozen on there. Okay, I don't know. That looks all right. All right, we're back. Anyway, I didn't want to be talking about housekeeping the whole time. Okay, I'll just come out of there. All right. So I can't tell if anyone's in on Facebook. Oh, Naomi's in on Facebook. And now we've got people watching on YouTube as well. So that's great. All right. Cut flowers. Who wants to talk about cut flowers, or do we want to talk more about the prospect of extreme weather? And Stan, you've made a really good point. Extreme weather also includes extreme rain events and extreme heat events, but they have different impact on the trees or plants in your garden. Extreme rain events can wipe out so many of your plants for different reasons. One, they might get waterlogged, and you'll get that damage, which is generally from oxygen deprivation, or it may be from an infestation of fungus or bacteria, depending on the overall effects of that rain event. A rain and wind event can mean your plants tumble over. And as Naomi had mentioned earlier on, that she had a limb come down from one of the angophoras, and the angophora are closely related to the eucalypts, the gum trees. Oh, Naomi, another comment. Cool. Naomi said a lot of trees have died from extreme rain and the flooding down the bottom of the mountain. Now, I'm going to guess, Naomi, that a number of them have died because they've been either washed away or almost washed away. So that exposes their root system to the air and they can dry out from that. If they're washed away, they're obviously gone. If they're blown over, or what we're seeing more of, and why this is a topic I really wanted to bring up, is sometimes if we're getting so much rain that the soil is waterlogged, and this situation happens time and time again, and the soil doesn't dry out properly, the physical bonds that connect the soil together change. And then you don't even need really extreme wind to come along and then to topple the tree or the shrub, because that the previous mechanics of anchoring that plant into the soil have changed, and it comes over. And it looks like the same problem when trees come over. It looks like the same issue, but they can be 2, 3, 4 or more problems that cause the failure of the tree. I've also talked about when everybody starts rejigging their driveways and excavating soil, and most plant roots are in the very top level of the soil. And if everybody comes in, you have a new owner, and they either want to increase their paving, or they want a wider driveway, and you are excavating soil to put in concrete or a base for other sorts of paving. Maybe it's a lovely brick paved driveway. Just the very act of excavating will damage the feeder roots and the water drawing roots from the surrounding established trees and large shrubs. And Naomi, you've used a word I love. Naomi has said tons were washed away, but some of the trees are dying due to the soil being sodden. It's a clay soil, and have been told the soil has become anaerobic in places. Absolutely spot on. What happens if you get waterlogging? All soil has gaps. Soil, even if you dig into a clay soil and it seems like that's solid clay, no, there are spaces between all of the little, the granules, the particles that make up that soil. There are air spaces, and that is where the exchange between the atmosphere and the root zone occurs, and the transfer of nutrients and water, oxygen molecules are taken up by the tree. When water fills all of those air spaces, that functionality for the tree ceases. or for the plant ceases. Now, when we talk about trees that are resistant to waterlogging, these are plants that are adapted to periods where the soil can be anaerobic, but they will bounce back when that period has passed. But in a garden setting, if we're putting plants that cannot survive that situation in, and then we are getting these really frequent severe rain events, and if your soil in your garden becomes anaerobic, waterlogged for long periods of time, or maybe 8 times a year instead of 3, you can suffer losses because of that. And we need to start thinking about that when we are doing our plant selection for new plants. But the problem doesn't take away the management issues that we have for those established trees and shrubs that are already in the garden. Okay, let me go back. Live stream. Nobody new over there. Stan, let me know, where are you planning to go up north? Are you going up north in South Australia, or are you actually going to head further north? You may be going to Uluru. You're gonna show off the Polestar at the Ulara Resort. Okay, where are we? No, let me. Yeah. I really am sorry that I can't do anything in the Instagram. We've got to get this worked out, don't we? Okay. Back to the YouTube. Nobody on there. We still got 4. Wow. Good to see you, YouTube. Now let's come back here. Yeah. All right. Well, that seems to have got a bit of discussion going. So let's extend this a little bit more. If you are now looking at replacing trees or shrubs, or developing a new section in the garden or a new garden, are you concerned, and would you like to make selections based on extreme weather events? And I guess the logical question beyond that is, are you confident that you would get the advice? Let's even take it a step back. Are you confident that anyone that you would be purchasing plants from would even have a thought about it? Okay. Oh, Naomi's got a good comment in here for Stan. And because you're in different windows, Stan, I'm going to read this out for you from Naomi. If you're going up top of South Australia, Stan, try to drop by a tiny town called Kimber. And I'm sure Stan has been to Kimber. It's one of the best community-run and endorsed conservation areas. It's called Roora, Rroora. So many bird species and lots of inland bird species that you're liable to find in Western Australia. WA, inland birds. I wonder what you might be seeing. I wonder if you're a chance to see a gibber bird at Roora. Okay, while I'm at it, I'm going to type in Roora Conservation Park. Okay, Roora Conservation Park. It's the Tirk Roora National Park in Quandamooka country. Oh no, that's a different one. Beg your pardon. Uh, that's off Moreton Bay. Here we are. Nature Trails. Let's see if there's a bird list. It's run by the Kimber District Council and tourist information. Let's see what I can find out. No motorbikes or horses allowed. Pram and push bike friendly. I like that. Brochures including extensive information on flora and fauna are available in the green visitor information box. Okay, so it looks like I can't get that now. Oh, hang on. Visitor information brochure and maps. Looks like I cannot get what I would like to get there. Get a map, perhaps. Lovely silo art, I can tell you that. So Kimber, even though we say Kimber is north, gee, it's a long way. It's a long way from the north of South Australia, but it is on. It's about the same latitude as Peterborough, Port Pirie, Whyalla, and Streaky Bay. So that if you're familiar with South Australia, that will give you an idea there. Okay, I cannot. Naomi's giving me some information. The bird list sucks. Naomi's in the top 10 birders on eBird. Yeah, that's probably because nobody has been doing eBird when they go there and saw more birds than on the list by far. You want to tell us what you saw, Naomi? And let me come back here. So Stan is going. I'm reading Stan's comments now from the YouTube vertical chat. Stan will try and get to Broome and then might keep going for the full lap. Well, that would be cool. But are you going to turn left or turn right when you go to Broome, Stan? Stan stayed in Kimber on his last trip. They have a big galah there. Yeah, I was just looking at that. And only for one night I was there. I'll be going through again, but won't have time to stop. Maybe just for a curry while charging. That would be very, very, very nice. Okay, let's come back. Naomi hasn't added to her comments about her bird list. I'd be interested to know what you saw, Naomi. Did you get any lifers on that? Yeah, Fabo. Okay. How long have we been going? Let's see. Oh, almost getting up for an hour. Well, this is about as long as I normally would like to go these days. Let's just throw some bird and plant chat open. I might carry over it'll be the second time I've done it, but I might carry over the flowering plants to bring inside. Would you? I think I'll put on the Bird Emergency website and in the community posts on YouTube. I'll also let you know if this multi-streaming continues to be a ongoing problem with trying to manage all the chats. I'll see if I can find a workaround. I don't want to buy a Windows machine just so that I can use a plugin that lets me bring all the chats in and highlight them in the same way that StreamYard does. There is another software out there that's a bit cheaper, but I haven't used it yet, so I don't know if it will do what I want it to do. Anyway, that's a me problem, right? Let's talk more plants. Well, two things. I want you to tell me if extreme weather events and the likelihood of them occurring in your locality will be or have affected your plant choices, your plant buying choices, or indeed the removals that you may have made in your garden at this stage. And any just bird stuff you want to talk about. I want to talk about the honey eater that I rescued this week. So we'll finish up with that in a minute. I just want to see if there's any more plant chat that people want to jump in with. Okay, no update there. Really pleased for Jambone Jim from Vancouver Island is in the chat. I'm really happy about that. I think that's the first time we've had someone from Canada in the chat. So that's great. Jim, I'm really pleased to do that. I haven't done LinkedIn today because of this issue that I've been talking about. So we will try and get back to that. Naomi, I do want you to tell me what your highlights were when you did your bird list at Kimber. I'm again trying to see. Oh, maybe my activity here. I'm not saying anything. Sorry, I'm just going through my Instagram and seeing if anyone's commenting. Instagram, if you are, sorry, I cannot bring it up. It's one of the problems with trying to do all of these together. Okay, looks like Naomi's dropped off. Hopefully Naomi's gone to do some birding or some gardening. So I'm just waiting for any further comments. I mean, that's what the live stream for Habitat Gardening is really about on this Saturday morning, or indeed Friday night, as Jambone Jim was telling me. Let's go back to there. Must be Friday afternoon, mustn't it? Now must be like on the west side. What are we talking? Probably 4 or 5, 6 p.m. Yeah. Stan, I guess we can expand the conversation a little bit. I saw you with doing a photo opportunity with some of the bigwigs from Polestar. Are you getting some sponsorship or something now? Fill us in. People who don't know who I'm referring to, Stan runs Kangaroo Island TV YouTube channel, and Kangaroo Island is an island off the south coast of South Australia. Stan has been documenting his journey with getting into an EV and then showing us how having an EV, nominally a Polestar, is not a problem if you want to go checking out the wilds of Australia. You can charge them, and they do go a long way, and they do stuff. So that's a useful public service. All right. Let's. All right. Well, since we're waiting for any plant or bird comments, I'm going to tell you my. Naomi has popped in now with her. Look at these. I'll read these out for all the platforms. When Naomi went to Kimber, these are some of the highlights. Gilbert's Whistler, which is corker, western whistler. Now let me check, Naomi. Western whistler is one of those common names which I really hate. Um, so, is that the western golden whistler or the western whistler, the predominantly grey western whistler? Western yellow robin, that's a ripper. And Naomi saw a peregrine falcon catch a wood duck. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, so here we go. So now, all right, Naomi, thank you for that. I need to restart. The image is gone. Where is my image gone? From where? My image is all right here. Seems all right here. Both whistlers. Naomi, are you not seeing my face? And Naomi said it was both whistlers. The Western Golden Whistler and the Western Whistler and Gilbert's Whistler. Absolute ripper. Coming over to the live stream over here. No, my face is still going there. And Stan is telling us that he got a cap and a model car from the Polestar execs. It was stoked to be selected by Polestar as a happy rural Aussie EV owner. Well, you're certainly, Stan, giving Polestar a huge amount of free PR. So, okay. So Naomi's saying she can't see my face. And I'm back. Okay. I don't know what happened with that. Again, Naomi, you're seeing me through this streaming platform that I have been using and I'm now having lots of issues with. Oh, good. And we've got some horizontal viewers on YouTube now and Twitch, so that's good. Okay. This stream is about talking, answering questions or just sharing some comments. If you're new here, we're talking about birds, some bird sightings that Naomi saw on her trip to Kimber, which is where Stan has been recently, and we're just sharing a little bit about that. But if you've got a thought, a comment, a question about gardening, habitat gardening, loosely whether extreme weather events are influencing your choices of plants, or if you've been affected by an extreme weather event with trees coming down or damaging property, let us know. And I'm juggling a few chats, so let's head over to the YouTube again. Stan says, part of my modus operandi, is to get people out of their Tesla into something better and off Twitter and onto Threads. And Stan wants to know about my honey eater rescue. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute. Let me just check back to StreamYard. Naomi saying we're back over here. All right. And I'm not frozen, am I, anywhere? Let's just check that. No, I'm working fine here. Everything seems to be good. Oh, I can probably combine all my chats. Anyway, that's inside baseball. No one wants to talk about that. All right, my honey eater rescue. I was walking back from the bus and I noticed, all right, no, Naomi's got some bird But plant talk. Let's go back to plant talk. Naomi just bought some kangaroo paw, and I think the winds are hurting them. They look wilted, and I'm worried they have windburn. Or do they need a watering or what? They're in pots. Okay, Naomi. Tell me. Tell me a little bit more about. Are they in? They're in plastic pots, I presume. Did you buy 6-inch or 140 millimeter size kangaroo paws? And are they uh, one of the new branded like Bush Gems or something paws, whichever, the Just Joey and all those kind of ones, or are they plain old species? The yellow kangaroo paw, the green kangaroo paw, the red kangaroo paw. And what I'm most interested in, did they come from a nursery where they look like they've been, were they maintained quite moist? And you'll be able to tell that by taking one or two out of a pot and having a look at the very base of the pot and see whether it's dry, reasonably dry, or whether it's quite wet. What happens with a lot of kangaroo paws is that they are watered the same way as everything else in the nursery. The person will walk around with a soft spray wand and they'll water everything 3 or 4 times a day, reasonably heavy. The plants run water right through them. The pots will shed their water right through, and the plant will get water, within 6 hours, maybe within 4 or 3 hours. And they adapt to that. But that's not the way kangaroo paws should be going. But if they're wilted and it's not from them not adapting yet to a new watering regime, they can have got the ink spot. It may not be showing yet in the foliage, but it can be affecting their root zone. So we need to. All right. Plastic pots, 6-inch pots, Naomi is saying. They're called gems. Okay, so they're the Bush Gems range. So there's a pile of those. They are yellow golden colour. Okay, so the pot was dry when I bought it. I've watered them, but have been worried to overwater. All right. This is what I would do, Naomi. Did they look good when you bought them, or were they looking tatty when you bought them? Here's what I would do. I would get a tray or a bucket, depending on how many you've got. Put in up to about half of the pot depth water, and then put the pot in the tray or in the bucket so that you are getting the pots properly watered. Leave them in for half an hour to an hour, and then take them out and see whether that freshens them up. If that freshens them up, i.e. the leaves become rigid again, and if the flower stems are starting to wilt, they stiffen up again. If they become rigid again, you can be pretty sure that that's the watering regime that they have become used to. And it could possibly be that that they are drying out from the winds, but that is not something I would usually expect from kangaroo paws. If the immersion in some water to totally wet the root ball in the pot and then taking out it, if that works and that shows you it's okay, I would think that they've been adapted to a watering regime, and maybe they were in a shady spot or a protected spot. You might be right, but maybe there's no uh, that they're just not used to evaporating as much water or draining out as much water. They might have been uh, on some leaf litter or something that didn't dry out at the bottom of the pot. So the thing I would recommend, and I would recommend this if they are filling the pot, if you take them out of the pot, if you tap the root ball out of the pot, do the roots fill the whole pot? If they do, you need to pop them up. That would be the first thing I would do. I would first do the immersion test and see whether they bounce back. If they do, they need to be getting more water, and the way that they could get more water, and you can wean them off being watered incorrectly, because kangaroo paws do not need to be watered every day, and it's certainly not several times a day, unless they are pot bound and they can't retain water in the pot. So you would pot them up and you would use a high quality native potting mix. So Naomi says they were on a wire trolley. Okay, you're off to the Mallee again soon. Naomi says she'll try that. We're in a more protected spot. They're on a wire trolley. They better hurry up and adapt. I'm off to the Mallee again soon. How long to wean off? Okay, pot them up. Pot them up into, if you had them in 6-inch, pot them up into an 8-inch, which is, what's an 8-inch? 200 mil. If you don't have 200 mil and you maybe have 7-inch, which I think is 17 inch. Yeah, that'd be right. 17-inch pot. Pot them up, and then when I newly pot plants up, I then bunch them together as they need to establish, and water them. Depending on how long you're away for, Naomi, there's a number of strategies you can use for that. Maybe we need to have a longer discussion about how to manage them. How many weeks have you got before you go? You would need 3 or 4 weeks, I think, before they would be establishing well. How do you intend to water them when you're away? That's an interesting thing for us to discuss. Okay, let me get into the other chats. Nothing new from Stan. He still wants to hear about my honey eater rescue. We'll get there in a minute. Really need some more information from Naomi to talk about that. If you're new to Habitat Gardening, plant talk on a Saturday morning here in Melbourne, Australia, Naarm, Wurundjeri country. Welcome. If you're from somewhere else in the world, jump in the comments and let us know. Very thrilled to have had Jambone Jim in from Vancouver in Canada. That was very exciting. Okay, yes, let's talk about the honey eater rescue. Here we go. Naomi's back. About 2 weeks until you go. Naomi has a dear friend that is feeding my axolotl, and she'll water the pot plants. Gone for at least a month, probably 2. Okay, Naomi, this would be my thought. If you pot them up and you then want to be sure that they don't dry out really rapidly, and perhaps you're only getting someone to come in and water once or twice a week, see if you can find some old underlay for carpet or something like that, an absorbent material that you could put the pots out onto, and that when they get watered, that will retain some water at the base of the pots, and it won't drain away too quickly, and that will hopefully mitigate or reduce the chance of them drying out. If you're not going to pot them up, I would just find them a protected spot out of wind and sun. It's quite likely. I mean, next week you're quite likely to get lots of wind and rain in your area, but after that, I don't know. Where some of the forecasts are that we're about to get into the warm phase quite early this year. So if you're gone in September, October, it's possible that October you might get some pretty seriously warm days. So then I'd be looking for a shady, part shady spot and out of really strong winds. So now this is a good question, Naomi. Naomi says, cool, I guess my day is potting up and getting some underlay. Certainly I think potting up would be a really good idea if you can. Would cardboard do for a rag? Yes, if you got some really sort of heavy duty cardboard, absolutely, it will do the job that I am talking about. Yes, especially if it's quite flat. My main thought would be that you are, having potted them up, would be to pop them into a part shade, not a full sun position. Question, Naomi, and I don't know whether you've been out and had a look. Are the roots really filling up the pots? Like, are they completely root pot bound? Because that can give us a clue as to whether they're requiring the constant input of water because there is no soil media left to retain some moisture. And that's where the benefit will come from potting up, because your potting mix will then retain some moisture that the new roots can use. But whenever you pot up, there is some transplant shock. So that's the point of putting the cardboard or some underlay. You can even just, if you have lots of leaf litter, and you may have in your area, you might have lots of leaves that have fallen, and you can use those if you're able to contain them and use them as a bed. That will retain some moisture. The main thing is that you are slowing down the loss of moisture in the pots. Unless you have some, well, here's another thought. Naomi has said too, she's got tons of leaf litter. Here's another thought, Naomi. Depending on how many pots you've got, if you have no option but to put them out into full sun or quite a windy spot, if you're able to, not only put them on leaf litter, jam leaf litter around them and also on the top like a mulch, and that will keep, that will reduce the loss of water. I want to make sure I get the terminology right. It will slow down the loss from the pots, water loss from the pots. If you haven't got any black sort of streaky or inky discoloration of the foliage, I'm going to assume that they're quite healthy. The most common problem you see with plants that you bought from the nursery is that they are pot bound. and the pots, there is no growing media left in the pot. That is all that space that we sort of talked about, that all soil has space. If the roots have filled up all that space, there is nowhere for water to be retained, for the roots to continue to draw on. Okay. Naomi says no inky leaves. So I think what she's probably got are pot bound. And some of these kangaroo paws will grow extremely quickly, especially if the potting media that they were potted into has quite a lot of nutrients in there. Okay, heading over back to Instagram. Stan's probably waiting for me to finish off the honey eater story. Let me just check. I thoroughly approve of Stan's modus operandi to get people out of their Teslas and into something better, and off Twitter and onto Threads. I've been so slack with using the social media. I must admit, I'm a bit over social media at the moment because Naomi says she wants to hear the honey eater story, and thanks for the advice. Can I just diverge for a little bit too? Who else is sick of... I'll tell you what I'm sick of social media for. I'm sick of social media because of some of the aggro and the garbage that is being flung around. And a lot of our major media outlets are responsible for this too. Is that there's so much stuff that is just crap. Even if it's not damaging, it's just rubbish, to my mind. And the other bit is that I'm sick of seeing posts that are just basically ads or promotion of something that, and often they're people I really like following, but there's no actual attempt to make social media interactive. It's like you may as well just be holding up a brochure. And I feel guilty about this too, because you run out of time to do a lot of things, and you're just saying, the next time I'm going live is this, or, people will say, oh, read my latest blog post, or do this or do that. Whereas a lot of that you hope is people who are following you are finding that stuff anyway. And maybe I'm just being grumpy old man too much about this, but I'm just finding I'm tired of seeing so much just not propaganda, PR on the socials. But I should try and get out of that. All right. Honey eater story. I was walking back from the bus stop after being shopping the other morning. It was morning. It was late morning. And I was coming past a place that I always stop, and there's like a hose reel in the front yard right near the boundary. There's a bunch of diosma, pink diosma, and across the next boundary fence, there's a fairly large callistemon. But I always, just a matter of habit, as I walk along here and I look across where the hose reel, and it's an old wire, it's an awful thing. I guess that's why I always look at it. And there's a large garden stone bowl, big rock, right? I always look across there just for some reason as I walk past. Oh, and on the footpath there's a really tatty callistemon that has some sooty mould on it. And I guess the sooty mould is so ugly, and the callistemon has suffered quite badly from it. I always look across, and I looked across to where this stone and this hose reel was, and I had to look again. I thought, what? I looked down, and there's a New Holland honey eater just lying there motionless with its eyes open. And I looked closely, and its tongue is hanging out. Oh, that doesn't look good. And I know that there are cats. I often see cats around there. So I thought, oh, this doesn't look good. I picked up the bird and there were no other birds around apart from spotted doves. But this is a place where I frequently see a group of New Holland honeyeaters chasing each other around. I was watching them a few days ago, and I forgot to say in one of my earlier live streams, and I forgot to say on social media that I had seen some pretty aggressive courtship / mating going on in this little space. Anyway, I look down and there's this New Holland honeyeater, and its eyes are open and its tongue is hanging out. The feathery bit is protruding. And I've picked it up and the bird is warm but not moving. So my first thought is window strike. It's flown into a window. Or possibly it's been caught up in the romantic excitement and perhaps it's flown into a car as it's driven past. I don't know. And what often happens with birds with bird strike, so they'll hit the window and they'll fly away. And people think, oh, that's okay, it's flown away. But no, it gets a concussion or something and hits the ground, and then they either get grabbed by a cat or, as I think is far more likely, based on my experience with this little bird, is that if they're unconscious and their heart rate slows right down, I think they basically freeze to death. Not from freezing, but from lowering their core body temperature down to such a damaging level. So I'll tell you why I think that, because I picked it up and there was a heartbeat really slow, and the bird was not cold, but not warm. So I picked it up, hold it in my hand, up against my chest, hurried home and held onto it for a while to see if if my hands alone would warm it up. And I wasn't getting, it didn't feel to me to be getting worse, but it didn't seem to be getting better. So I went and found a little box. I had a little post pack that I had received a book in, and to give you an idea, the book would have been about this big, right? So to give you an idea, the box is, I don't know what, 10 centimetres long. Anyway, small box. I've put the bird in the box to keep it, reduce the shock, keep it dark, but I turned the oven on to minimum and I put the box in the oven with the door open so that it was warmer than my 37 degrees Celsius in my hands or against my chest, but not too warm. So maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 degrees. And I waited 10, 15 minutes. And I could hear some scratching in the box. I thought, oh, right, well, that's good. There's some movement. So I then took the bird out of the box. I had a microfiber sort of bag that I bought a bedspread that I use as the cover for Loz's cage. So this is a microfiber sort of bag. So I got the microfiber bag, put the honeyeater in the microfiber bag and held that in my hand. So it was in the dark, but in the bag, so I wasn't actually holding it, but it was in my hand against my chest, so I was keeping it warm. It took about an hour and it starts to struggle and get a bit grumpy. So I put some of my lorikeet and honeyeater mix in the lid of a jar. So put that in the little box, put the honey eater in the box with a little egg gap for light so it wasn't in the dark. And I watched the honey eater dip its beak. By now, the tongue is no longer hanging out, so I can't see the bristles out the front of its mouth. And it gets a little bit of hydration and some food energy. I leave it about another probably half an hour. And there's lots of scratching around and it's pretty grumpy in the box. And where I picked it up from is directly behind where the backyard of our place is. You might have heard me talking about the mandarin tree outside my window. So if I stand at the mandarin tree, I can see down the fence line, I can see a large orange tree. And beyond that is the spot, as I'm walking along the back where I picked the bird up. If I look there, I can see the orange tree. So I know orange tree, mandarin, our place. So I took the bird scratching around, obviously a bit grumpy. I took the box out to the mandarin tree out the back, opened the lid, and it straight up into the mandarin tree, and then straight out in the vicinity of the orange tree, down the fence line, and obviously back to its group. I was going to take it round to the round to where I picked it up, but he was so grumpy that I thought I'll just give him a chance. So there we go. Have not picked up a dead New Holland honeyeater anywhere in the area, so I have no evidence that it did not survive. So that was good. Okay, Naomi has a good comment here. Let's have a look. Naomi is saying, and this is about the social media, agree, so much bigotry and nasty racism, seeing more lately, and it drives me wild. Even on bird groups, there is a lot of racism about pink cockatoos and their previous name. Yeah, I think I wouldn't jump to the thought that they're being racist, but I think people just don't think about the way they make a comment. They don't think about the way they're going to be perceived. And I used to make plenty of comments around election time that I wanted to be aggressive and I wanted to get narky, but I'm not getting into a bird group to upset anyone. Also, people justifying their bigotry and anti-trans. Yeah, this stuff's really upsetting me, the anti-trans and homophobia stuff. They're concerned for some group or other. It's okay, Naomi, you can be as cranky as you want. Naomi says, sorry for getting very cranky. And thanks for helping the New Holland honeyeater. And the oven is such a novel idea. Well, Naomi, I've done it before over time when I've had small birds or young birds that I've looked after, especially nestlings. And often people will put, it's not really that novel, because if you are doing hand rearing young birds or you're rescuing, often you'll have like an infrared lamp, a heat lamp, and you can put that in a big plastic crate or a big box and have a heat source. But I didn't have anything like that, and I don't even have a desk lamp, which would have been suitable. The lights I have here that I use for the lighting setup with the streaming, they don't generate much heat. So I thought, well, this is pretty urgent. The bird's not going to last an hour or two while I dick around and think about what to do. So it's in a box. It can't see what's going on. Trying to keep it calm, and the oven is not making any noise. So yeah, it was just use what was at hand. So I'm glad that worked. Okay, let's pop over to Okay, Stan says, Kangaroo Island TV on YouTube. Well done, great rescue. I've noticed the New Holland honeyeaters getting frisky too. Well, frisky doesn't even start to describe what was going on here. It was frenzy. And Stan says, how is Loz? What did he think? Loz was good. I didn't bring him in today because I brought him into a stream I did the other day, and I got totally distracted because Loz would not behave. I did not put the honeyeater and Loz nearby. I was if the honeyeater hadn't have perked up quite so quickly, I would have put the honeyeater in the small cage that I have, which is outside at the moment, but I would have brought that in, and then I would have had to try and manage the honeyeater in a cage. But I think that would have stressed it out more. So Loz and the honeyeater didn't get close in close contact. The other thing too is you don't want to put a wild bird close to a cage bird because you don't know what does the wild bird have some kind of disease? Does it have mites or something? And you have to wash your hands and, use a high level of hygiene when you are handling a wild bird. If you are going to be handling another pet, another person, or another bird, so we did that. Loz is good. Loz is very good. Really responding well. I've introduced a new, quite a while ago, but I don't think I've talked about it. I introduced a rearing and conditioning mix into his food regimen. So he has a number of different foods that I cycle him through so he doesn't get bored with eating the one thing. And also, if I go away and I want someone else to look after him for a period of time, I need him to be flexible in what he eats. So, so he's doing well with that. Okay. Now, what have we got? Naomi. Now we're going back onto bird names for birds. Naomi says, when they're given the facts about Major Mitchell, pink cockatoo, Major Mitchell, and his actions when they come back at you saying, woke, and don't cancel history. Those people are idiots. Just go and tell them to read the bloody Manning Clark History of Australia and freak them out. I even saw a comment about voting in agreement of petrol sniffing in Northern Territory. Yep. I don't even have the time for it. I just block them, report them if they're being racist. Depends what platform you're on. But I see that Mark Zuckerberg has now agreed that Facebook was mean to the Republicans. And so Facebook's a hellhole. Naomi says, New Holland honeyeater swoop, my friend. I agree, they're frenetic in their activity. It's full on watching them, yeah. And watching how aggressive the males get trying to mate with a female. I mean, it's savage. And Naomi says the yellow-faced honeyeaters and Lewins honeyeaters in the area are also playing chase in such a maniacal fashion or manner. I'm not seeing the same activity here with the wattlebirds yet, with either the red or the little wattlebirds yet. So I'm guessing in this area where the competition, the main competition with the New Holland honeyeaters is the wattlebirds, I'm hoping that they're breeding a bit earlier and trying to get at least one clutch out before that. Oh, the other thing that excited me, and I meant to say this on a stream and I forgot. Before, probably the day before or maybe 2 days before the honeyeater event, in almost the same spot, in that little same sort of 50 metres of pavement behind my place, grey fantail. Haven't seen a grey fantail here for ages, so that was really exciting. Years since I've seen a grey fantail or heard one. Occasionally hear willy wagtails around here and occasionally see a willy wagtail. But grey fantail, that was very exciting for me in this location. So there we are. All right, last... see. Here we go. I was worried I wouldn't even have enough to talk about for an hour, and here we are. We've cracked the 90 minutes again. Does anyone have another comment, bird comment or plant comment or thought? Naomi says, yeah, she really loves grey fantails. I do too. And, living in a very urbanised spot, I guess the other thing I can mention is there has been some more clearing, more selling, more houses sold in my street and the adjoining streets, and more mature plants removed, more evidence of street trees being removed. Still no, I have an acknowledgement from council that I have sent them a question about what's going on with the street tree plantings, and but nobody, I have an acknowledgement, but I don't have a reply. Naomi says, Naomi said she really loves grey fantails, but she adores the rufous fantail. They're quite different in behaviour. Yes, I agree. There is no chance that I'm going to be seeing a rufous fantail near here anytime soon. I'll have to go out on a bird watching expedition. No, I won't talk about that. There is something hopefully coming up soon about bird watching that I can talk about, but not yet. Let me do a last round around the still checking if we've got checking the I'm just looking to, there's quite a delay between the vertical stream and the horizontal stream. Maybe you can hear Loz out the back there, out in the land stream. I can fit his cage. It just fits through the doorways and out into the yard. I put him out in the yard because it was quite sunny yesterday, and I hadn't put his cage out in the yard until yesterday. I'd been taking him into the small cage and hanging him up where he used to be, but now I'm pushing the cage out, and I thought I'd give the cage a bit of a clean up, and he really liked the hose, so that was good. Naomi says she's off to pot. That's great. Let me know, Naomi. Take some photos and feel free to send them to me if you want some thought when you tap them out of the roots, out of the pots, and you can see the root zone. Maybe take some shots before you start of what condition they're in, and I'll see if I can give you some thoughts based on the visual evidence. Feel free to do that, and I'll do that sort of while I'm having a cuppa after we finish up. Thanks for all your input, Naomi. Heading back to the YouTube. Okay. So what I will say, as usual, this Saturday morning stream is all about getting some comments, some feedback. Super excited to have someone from Vancouver Island, Jambone Jim, good on you, in today. And, well, I'll be back next Saturday morning for Habitat Gardening. Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Will we be off to... I think we're coming into daylight time really soon, so I'll have to change that. Anyway, it'll be 9:30 in Melbourne and Sydney and Hobart and Canberra, but it'll be different for Brisbane. Starts to get really confusing. Anyway, I'll try and keep up on top of that. If you are watching on one of the other platforms, please follow on YouTube, thebirdemergency.com/YouTube, because that's where increasingly I'll be doing my streams. Oh, and Twitch as well. Twitch is always easy, and I'm going to try and get all the chats in one place so I can be far less annoying. Stan says, thanks, Grant, and the Riot Squad. Yes, we'll get the Riot Squad stuff happening as the Mondays and Tuesdays get back on track, which hopefully will be next week. I will post and let you know. Again, most of the social media stuff will be centered towards the YouTube community and how I can add that into thebirdemergency.com. So, thebirdemergency.com/YouTube. Head over there. Of course, I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and blah blah blah. But I really want to be less everywhere. If that makes sense. Oh, the Bird Emergency on Instagram. We will try and get Instagram back into the streaming mix as well. Have a great time on the road. Stan says he'll be on the road next week. So we'll follow Kangaroo Island TV on Threads. Do keep us updated, Stan. Tag us so that I make sure that I see it. That will be fab. Thanks, Jambone Jim. Thanks, Naomi. What have we got? Look forward to seeing you on Habitat Gardening next week. And we will talk about flowers next. If you've got other thoughts about topics, let me know. I think I'll put a list of upcoming topics on thebirdemergency.com, and that way I can be a little bit more prepared. I'll pull my finger out. See ya!